Tonight on Joynews Prime, Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee describes as sloppy the corruption risk assessment done by the Special Prosecutor on the Ejapa mineral royalties deal.
I think this is the sloppiest job he's done so far, and if he continues on this path, I don't think people are going to take him seriously.
Though the President has asked that the agreement governing the deal be resubmitted to Parliament, Dr. Sibe is of the opinion there is nothing to be reviewed.
All intents and purposes, the Japan royalties SPV matter is closed. It is closed. Parliament cannot go back and review what it's done previously.
The minority in Parliament is meanwhile pushing for the punishment of government officials involved in the Japan deal.
What is government desperately looking for $500 million US for? What do they want the money for? What is the national need? What is the emergency for which we must borrow from a transaction that we earn without borrowing?
Former President John Mahama has also waded into the fray, accusing President Akufo-Addo of failing to punish the finance minister over his alleged role in the controversial Ejapa deal because they are related.
140.
With 34 days to December 7, the campaign trail is heating up. The flag bearer of the opposition NDC is still keen on a one-on-one presidential debate with President Akufo-Addo.
Yajebosia 56 billion Ghana cedis. And then Nanado Ajebosia 141 billion Ghana cedis. Ezu Enti Ankamese Menen Entinaho. Na ontre Niodi 141 billion Ediaye.
Will the president yield this time around? In business,
Ghanaian business community in the US on the edge over the elections, of course, as they weigh in on the implications on remittances and trade activity.
The election of Trump to them is not good news, especially when he has been tough on immigration laws, unlike Biden, who has some plans and has also been promising the Dream Act for immigrants.
And then later in the bulletin, musicians Samini's endorsement of President Akufo-Addo's 2020 campaign with the new song Boyaka is now official. But curiously though, as you just heard Samini, he spoke against the celebrity endorsement of politicians in 2016. So what has changed? And America decides tonight, will it be Trump or Joe Biden? My name is Israel Lai, and Joynews Prime is coming to you live from our Father for studios at Kokomimli here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we're free to air and also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Stay tuned in. Well, Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Mark Sibe has described as sloppy the corruption risk assessment done by the Special Prosecutor on the Ejapa mineral royalties deal. He says, reading the report, it is clear the Special Prosecutor was on a fishing expedition. Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu in his report concluded there was a breach of the Public Procurement Act and Public Financial Management Act in how transaction advisors were procured. He also raised reasonable suspicion of bid rigging and corruption. We bring you a news desk report.
Discloses the identity of Imara Corporate Finance Limited of South Africa as one of the transaction advisors. The report notes the processes that led to the procurement of the firm should have gone to Parliament because it's an international transaction. That was never done. Secondly, the whole of the fees for the bid purportedly won by Imara of South Africa with its decoy Data Bank of Ghana is to be paid in US dollars to Imara Corporate Finance Limited of South Africa. The mandate agreement does not say when and how the decoy Data Bank of Ghana was to be paid by Imara for a contract purportedly won and performed jointly. This opaque arrangement in the contract negotiation process is what made the analysis by the Office of the Special Prosecutor conclude that there is a reasonable suspicion of bid rigging and corruption activity, including the potential for illicit financial flows and money laundering in the arrangement of fees payable to Data Bank of Ghana as the decoy, which was not approved under the Public Procurement Authority Act. The transaction advisors nonetheless went ahead to identify and recommend service providers and underwriters to the Ministry of Finance for appointment by the Republic of Ghana. The ministry acted contrary to the Public Procurement Act and the Public Financial Management Act in delegating the power to appoint service providers to the unlawfully appointed transaction advisors. The transaction advisors, whose selection and appointment by the Finance Ministry did not measure up favorably to the analysis of risks of corruption and anti-corruption assessments, were potentially susceptible to undue influence, favoritism, cronyism, nepotism, and all forms of discrimination abhorred under the 1992 Constitution, leading to the suspected packing of the service providers and underwriters' position with entitlements not chosen on merit.
Chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Maketibu, however, disagrees with the position taken by the Special Prosecutor, insisting he did not do a thorough job. The President has asked that the deal be resubmitted to Parliament for a review. But Dr. Sibe told the press corps in Parliament the deal is already closed.
Thus far, reading through his report of his corruption risk assessment report, this has been a sloppy job, very, very sloppy, because the connected parties, I, as chairman of Finance Committee, he pronounces on our work. He didn't even speak to me. Okay, he came to Parliament gathering our reports and the work he's done, as if he's going behind us to get some information. How nobody says in the Finance Committee meetings, okay? So who best to speak to when you want to know what has transpired at the Finance Committee? This work that started in 2018 on the passage of the Minerals Income Investment Fund law, subsequently its amendment, then these agreements. These have been the committee for the better part of 2 years. And so for him to suggest that he doesn't think that the committee did a thorough job scrutinizing these, maybe he doesn't appreciate numbers, and so he doesn't see how we could have done this in quick fashion. But if I go through things he has to say, for instance, about the mandate agreement, who has authority to sign the mandate agreement, this bit about the transaction advisors, Imara Data Bank, and being a conduit for corruption. This is like somebody on a fishing expedition. He hasn't done a thorough job, and all that he's put out is inconclusive. He's unable to pinpoint corruption or graft or wrongdoing anywhere. It could have been this. It wasn't thorough. I think this is the sloppiest job he's done so far, and if he continues on this path, I don't think people are going to take him seriously. To all intents and purposes, the Japan royalties SPV matter is closed. It is closed. Parliament cannot go back and review what it's done previously. Unless some new material is presented to Parliament, some new request comes, then we can open it anew. But to go back to review what we did, that is not how Parliament works. Otherwise, there has to be a motion of rescission to rescind the decision that was taken earlier. And when you are rescinding that decision, then you are looking towards a different direction. But that's not the case here. I think if you read through the spirit of what the president is saying, he just wants us to, he just wants the country to take a break, and then after elections go full speed ahead. So it's not as if government is abandoning this monetization of royalties thing at all.
Minority Leader in Parliament Haruna Idris is also pushing for the punishment of government officials involved in the Japa deal.
Cannot remedy the defects of the transaction in any way possible. That is why we question the transaction. In any case, what is government desperately looking for $500 million for? What do they want the money for? What is the national need? What is the emergency for which we must borrow? From a transaction that we earn without borrowing, gold contribute 4% to our national revenue. Government without Ajapa earns $130 million annually from gold revenue, and just 10 of the mineral mining companies make significant contribution to our total revenue. Parliament cannot remedy the defects so identified by the special prosecutor. How is Parliament going to cure nepotism and cronyism? How is Parliament going to cure that you appointed a chief executive without due process? How is Parliament going to cure that you pass a resolution on a non-existing law? You don't build a house on nothing. It was built on nothing. So how is Parliament going to cure that a motion is moved and the motion is amended at the very time it was to be adopted to make room to wait for a president to assent to a bill so passed by Parliament? We feel strongly vindicated. The truth must always stand with the political minority at all times. And Ghanaians will now understand why momentarily I lost my cool and temperament for an important national matter of this character and nature. You find a minister of state trivialize it with Papano at that time, not concerned about the weight and magnitude of this particular transaction.
Mr. Idrisu says the minority feels vindicated, adding Parliament cannot cure the defects raised by the special prosecutor.
Parliament cannot remedy the defects as captured in the conclusions of the special prosecutor. I should commend the special prosecutor for doing a diligent work on the corruption risk analysis of this particular transaction. How is Parliament going to remedy breaches to the Public Financial Management Act? How is Parliament going to remedy breaches to the Public Procurement Act and its accompanying amendment? How is Parliament going to remedy payments made to IMRA, which has a decoy company of data bank? How is Parliament going to remedy that? So I do not see the NDC minority ever supporting anything Ajapa. I want to be convinced that is worthy building a national consensus on, and that will be premised on three important issues. One, what are you borrowing the money for? What did you need 500 million or 1 billion for? Why are you monetizing gold royalties when you can leave the same royalties and benefit from it annually with $130 million, noting that it makes a significant contribution of 4% to your national revenue and just a contribution of 10 mining companies.
But Majority Leader Osechimen Sibonsu says no decision can be taken on the way forward until the referral gets to Parliament. He describes as preposterous claims the Parliament did a bad job on the original agreement.
I don't know the content of the bag that is coming to us. If we assess it and we believe that we can work on it, we will apply ourselves to it. But already we have a tall order of business for us to process and indeed transact. If adding to it, we believe that it's possible, so be it. If it's not possible, we'll have to tarry a while. But I don't know what it entails. So I cannot make any definitive pronouncement on that.
Some say this shows Parliament didn't do a good job with the earlier document.
How does it show? How does it show? What's conclusive about it? Do they know better than we do know? Thing is, you can't just conjecture from the top of your head.
Your position is that.
Can I finish? And sometimes these things are very preposterous. Somebody sees somewhere as making a definitive pronouncement. You ask him, have you seen it? He hasn't seen it. There was a sense in critique when we say we haven't seen it. Even me, I can tell you that I haven't seen the referral and the content. So how does somebody sitting somewhere who hasn't seen it, condemn Parliament for lack of diligence?
Mr. Chairman Sibonsu also disagrees with the special prosecutor's view that the establishment of a Japan tax haven was out of place. He however says Parliament is sometimes challenged in considering documents because they don't have experts to advise them.
That doesn't mean that whatever Parliament or any Parliament anywhere in the world does is sacrosanct. There's no parliament anywhere in the world that is beyond reproach, right? Especially given our own circumstance when we don't have experts to independently consult to give us their opinion about that, right? And we must be working to improve that in order for us to improve the quality of our own positions on matters. We are not experts. All of us are not experts in the various fields. It's important that we are able to engage consultants and experts, and we don't take whatever comes from government as a given, right? So we must work to improve the conduct of business in the house, right? That one, yes, I agree. But for anybody to say that, oh, we didn't do good work, we had 4 hours, that's not true.
Well, joining me via Zoom now is Samuel Bekwen, who belongs to a group of civil society organizations opposed to the Japa mineral royalties deal. Good evening, and thank you for making time to speak with us. Now, the Alliance of CSOs working on extractives, anti-corruption and good governance has been pushing against this deal for a while now. Are you happy with where we are now and the decisions taken by the president?
Thank you, Israel. And it is very important that I think all of us, including citizens, should understand what the special prosecutor had done is what we call a corruption risk assessment. It did not, I don't think the report concluded to say there were corruption, but this is an important thing that raised any red flags with such an important deal. It is important that the president has taken this report and has suggested that the deal should go back to Parliament. But as we have said under the civil society organizations that have been concerned with this Japa deal, we had said that the current form of the deal and the structure was not going to be beneficial to citizens of Ghana. We had also raised issues about some of the governance issues that the special prosecutor has taken time to investigate or have done this analysis to know that, yes, there were some procedures that were not followed by the Ministry of Finance. So this shows that there is an important procedure that is there that we are supposed to follow legally as well. And therefore, we have to actually follow such procedures. It is important also that we all have to know that these referrals that have been made now, present another opportunity for Parliament to review the deal and also consider all stakeholders' views, as we have suggested, to look at whether the deal is going to be beneficial. I think we want to know the technical side of the deal, not just the governance side that the special prosecutor has suggested. Is the deal going to be beneficial? The deal as it in its current form is not beneficial because the deal is going to cede our royalties in perpetuity to the Japa Company Limited, given that there could be risk of bad management that could lead to also bad investment, meaning that we lose all that money. And I heard some of the comment made by the minority leader. What we ask the same question: what is so important with the 500 million? What is the emergency? Couldn't we raise such monies from any other source, including debt as well, or even including sort of making a Japa like a special purpose vehicle to go in for loan, which will not also be on government debt? So we have suggested these issues, and we are glad that some of these risks have been raised by the special prosecutor. And we should take this in good faith, and you probably learn lesson from that to do risk analysis, corruption risk analysis for all important and major deals that we undertake in Ghana.
Now, the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee is not too impressed with the job done by Martin Amidu. His main issue is the fact that his committee wasn't consulted or wasn't invited to respond to some of the issues the OSP raised. Would you say this is a fair point?
Personally, if you're doing corruption risk analysis, you want to look at the red flags. I think in doing such analysis, I cannot say whether that's what the special prosecutor had followed, but I believe in doing such analysis, you've got access to all the documents, and given that parliamentary proceedings are always documented, once you have access to such proceedings, it means whatever happened at the committee meeting or even at the plenary, you have access to it. So this is not to say that there is corruption. This is to say that these are the red flags and the risk and the procedures you have to follow. And if you do not follow such procedures, then you sort of, it presents a high risk for such particular deal. So after corruption risk and assessment, The next would be if there is some of the risks are really high and potentially real, then you launch investigation to look at whether that risk could be real or not. So I don't think this is to make value judgment that there is corruption. I believe that it is a tool that the special prosecutor had probably adopted. We can ask for further information about what the tool is and whether it conforms to international best practices as well.
Otherwise, would you say that the issues raised by the special prosecutor, if they are addressed, then the deal can go ahead?
No, we did not just raise issue with governance. We raised issue with the technical and the benefits of the deal. We do not think that a deal that seed royalty in perpetuity is a good deal for Ghana. And in any case, we have also raised issue about the value of Ejapa. And that have not been raised by the special prosecutor, even though he had alluded to the fact that these were concerns from other stakeholders. So we have raised issues more than the governance and the procedures. Corruption risk could look at the governance and the procedures, but it may not be substantive to the economic benefit of the deal. So we have raised issue more than the governance, and we believe that the structure, current structure, if you want to go with the current structure, then you value the company well, then you know how much you want to sell or raise money from the stock market. We believe that we should really look at the deal, and the opportunity place for us is to go back to Parliament, do further consultation, take into consideration that those national consultative views, because this is a national asset. It's the ownership is for Ghanaians in trust with the president.
All right.
And therefore, taking major decision like it, you will need that consultations. We do not believe that the current deal technically is going to be beneficial to Ghanaians.
Thank you very much. Samuel Bekwe is with the Alliance of CSOs working on extractives, anti-corruption, and good governance, and they have been against this deal for a while now. Well, staying with the Ejapa royalties deal, former President John Mahama is accusing President Akufo-Addo of refusing to punish Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta over his alleged role in the controversial deal because they are related. Mr. Mahama's accusation follows the corruption risk assessment conducted by the special prosecutor on the deal, which said there might have been bid rigging in favor of Databank, a firm closely linked to the minister. Addressing the chiefs and people of Shishale Boche in their Dentang constituency, John Mahama challenged the president to punish the finance minister just as he did the PPA boss.
Bibi oho, aye katasishe ene proye. Abra MPP omo opposition. Debi omo ka katasishe ene proye hu. Ene edene yehu. Senipa ekoye katasishe anase oye adianse fata. President Akasa ena ebe yi na film akase odebi onye ehwe. After corruption aginsem kra anope ye de Ejapa report aba. Na Ejapa report no kan ebo finance minister sobo. So akwa as a finance minister if he say oye obanpanyin enuenti ontimi enye hwe ontimi yinedi. And so ohwe nya etia PPA boss na entempara your man report na we yi say ni panedi enti nya fair justice and equal treatment otimi hwe eni ho enti NDC besaba NDC ba abra ye wa ba mu se ye nipa eye bone a ye twe na so and no any thread the fight against corruption. And you say we fi abaimu na new abayaba ni abefremo se court. Nya eyedin ewo se yekun etia katasehye ne proye ene se wan kasa won crofo forma wutimi e de 90 form etwe omoso. Enti ni ba bebre a omo afom a omo adua sika ewo planado abaimu ewo so de 90 form na otwe omaso.
Now, Parliament wants the next president to be sworn into office on the premises of the House instead of the Independence Square. Majority Leader Oseche Mensah Bonsu today put the proposal before President Akufo-Addo when he commissioned the Job 600 Annex building to provide additional offices for members of Parliament. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu appealed to the president for support that will allow for the establishment of a presidential enclave on the premises.
Only democracies have parliament, and stronger parliaments make stronger democracies. Responsive and transparent parliaments make our democracy work. I've insisted that The only way our parliament can be stronger is to elevate itself above being a clearinghouse for executive embarrassment, not just this parliament, but all other parliament. Let me conclude by saying that one other matter which remains very dear to the heart of the board and to Professor Michael Quay is for you to support us as you have demonstrated, to have this particular process declared a parliamentary enclave, for us to have a modern infrastructure that befits the purpose of parliament as a citadel of democracy. I know you've made some commitments, but the commitment we want to see the end of this your tenure. I don't wish to add you another term, so I just say the end of this your tenure that it is done, Mr. President. So if it was done and the parliamentary enclave developed, the better it will be for our democracy. Finally, it's been a matter of discuss with my colleague, the majority leader, that some of this edifice, a country which does not honor its heroes, I'm told, is not worth dying for. To my left, I think that this administration block can beautifully be named after the late Peter Alajete, and the Job 600 itself be named after Justice D.F. Annan. I accordingly submit a proposal for us to look at in future, will determine who else deserves what. The two in particular have made monumental contribution to the growth of parliamentary democracy, particularly Justice D.F. Annan, the way he navigated the delicate balance of an infant, nascent, and maturing democracy.
Members of Parliament are united in the principle that an elected president must be sworn in the presence of Parliament, before Parliament, and indeed in Parliament, as the Honourable J.H. Mensah boldly articulated. The Ghanaian electorate always want to be part of and indeed own the process and procedures of the swearing in of our presidents-elect. The space afforded by the small chamber of Parliament makes it difficult to hold the event in the plenary of Parliament, which is why, conveniently, Parliament elects to sit at the...
We're taking a break here on Joynews Prime, but still ahead in the bulletin, musician Samini's endorsement of President Akufo-Addo's 2020 campaign with a new song, Boyaka, is now official. Curiously, though, Samini spoke against celebrity endorsements of politicians in 2016.
I don't think it's too healthy to do that as a people's person, because you represent the masses.
So what has changed? Becky Bex will be joining me on Showbiz with all that. Stay tuned in.
Well, back home, the National Export Development Strategy is aiming to reduce the cost involved in the taxation of cocoa products in the country by 42%. Now, this falls part of various moves by the Ghana Export Promotion Authority to ensure that local consumption of cocoa is key in the Ghanaian economy. There is more in this report. Ghana is ranked as the second largest producer of good quality cocoa. However, there is little processing and consumption of the cash crop. According to the cocoa processing company CPC, Ghanaians consume only 400 grams of chocolate daily compared to other developed countries that consume twice the number. One major reason for this is how expensive it is to buy just a bar of chocolate. A lowering of the 42.5% tax on chocolates is believed to bring down the cost of producing chocolate in the country. So far, threats to Ghana's cocoa processing industry include the limited access to foreign markets for tertiary cocoa products, chocolate and similar confectionery being expensive in Ghana, as well as the over-reliance on small-scale farmers for production of cocoa beans. The strategy document, which targets to attract $25.3 billion from non-traditional exports by 2029, seeks to vigorously promote and support Ghanaian majority-owned manufacturing companies to undertake cocoa processing in Ghana and forward integration towards the selling of liquefied chocolate mass or manufacturing of chocolates in the consumer market country. Meanwhile, a SWOT analysis of the country's cocoa processing industry has revealed the over-reliance on small-scale farmers for the production of cocoa beans as raw material and funding syndication by Cocoa Board for financing raw bean purchase from farmers as existing weaknesses that deserve strategic intervention. NETS is designed to update and realign the existing World Bank financed national export strategy for non-traditional exports with current government policies and key programs to give it an industrialization thrust. For Joy Business, I'm Charles Aite.
And that's how we end this edition of Business. We are back at 8. Sports is up next.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment with me, Reiko Ampofo. We start off from some local stories where the president of the Ghana Football Association, Keto Kweku, has eulogized the decision of some members of the FA to use part of their FIFA COVID-19 relief fund to purchase buses. Now, according to him, the move by some of the clubs is a testimony that the hard work behind the scenes is paying off.
FIFA supported women's football with $500,000. Most Ghanaian clubs use part of their money for the acquisition of buses. President of the GFA, Keto Kweku, hailed the decision of the clubs to invest their monies into one of the most important areas of their business, which is the challenge of transportation.
Well, I am particularly excited. Excited because I think that the various levels of engagement we're having with our members is eventually paying off by way of output. Okay, and I wasn't surprised that some of our colleagues invested part of the COVID money in the acquisition of vehicles, which is a need for their daily operations. Clearly, every member of the federation have different needs, so you identify your need and apply same. So I'm very happy.
The FA has been engaging members on the repositioning of the brand Ghana football. According to the president, Keto Kweku, he believes these engagements behind the scenes have created energy surrounding competitions of the football governing body, and he's hopeful that programs of the association will catapult the interest in the game.
If you follow the media landscape, there's a lot of energy gradually coming into the system. Clubs are opening up via social media platforms to sell their brand and reposition their brand. And this as a result of hard work behind the scenes, engaging our members on various levels to ensure that our repositioning agenda is not left alone in the hands of the Football Association. So we are very much on track, and hopefully when eventually we roll out the program for the season, everybody will be happy.
The 2020-2021 Women's Premier League is set to commence in January next year.
We still stick with some Ghana football, this time to the Ghana Premier League, where Inter-Alliance head coach Henrik Lem has witnessed issues about his team ahead of the new season. He says the players have not had enough time to prepare, but he is hopeful they would be ready ahead of the season, which kicks off in 11 days' time.
The form of teams were at a crescendo before COVID-19 forced the suspension and subsequent cancellation of footballing activities in the country. Following the lifting of suspension on contact sport, Ghana Premier League clubs resumed training sessions ahead of the commencement of a new footballing season scheduled to start on the weekend of November 13. Head coach of Inter-Allies, Henrik Lem, has been speaking about the challenges the players have encountered and how soon they will be ready before the first match of the season.
For me personally, it meant that I had to leave Ghana right when we were playing very well, and so I was sad that I had to leave. For the players, you know, they haven't been practicing and playing for, I think it's around 7 months. So of course they missed the contact with the ball, the technique, the first touch, and they're not in such a good shape. So we have a short period to make them ready for the first game. It's a very short start, and this team, we lost 7 players. They sold especially to Europe. So of course it will take us time to build a new team, but I'm sure we will handle it.
Inter-Allies will be missing the services of Victorian Adebayo and Samuel Arma, 2 players who scored 18 goals in 14 matches before the suspension of footballing activities. Lem admits the duo will be missed.
Of course we'll miss them. First of all, as persons, they're very nice persons, but of course 2 as good players who make so many goals, you know, it's not easy to find new players in such a short time. But I'm sure we're working on it every practice to make more goals. But it will probably take a while before we'll be there again. I think they're in okay shape after such a short practice period, but they still have a lot of technical things and a lot of tactical things we have to do better. So we played our first practice match this Saturday, and I know it's first match in 7 months, but still I was not satisfied how we played, especially the first half hour. So we still have a lot of things to work on.
Allies will open their new footballing campaign against Dreams FC at the Theatre of Dreams.
From football, let's do some hockey. Where the Ghana hockey Okay, so we'll be doing the hockey story actually in the second break, the second segment of the sports, but it's about, the Federation planning on building new facilities across the country to aid Ghana win gold in the All-Africa Games. That would be coming off in 2023, so you do want to stay tuned for that as well, and bringing you updates of the Champions League games that also come along. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and see you in the second segment.
It's time for Showbiz and Becky Bex. It's here. Hello, Bex.
Hello to you. Political season. Yeah. A lot of people are endorsing one. You're a bit looking like some party I know, though.
Oh.
And the background is looking like a party I know. But we won't talk about that.
All right.
Yesterday I told you about Samini.
Yep.
I didn't tell you about Sarkodie.
No.
Yes. So I decided to put everything together
today
for you.
All right. So the question is, the bit about Sarkodie, is it really an endorsement?
Well, he said it's not an endorsement, but a lot of people are speculating that it is. The fact that he's wearing blue and white, the color of the NPP. Yeah. And also saying that Nana Twaso, it's, that's the reason why people, but he tweeted, he said that Nana shouldn't take that. Well, he was speaking tree here.
Okay, so Nanado actually came in first. It's a nice song. Indeed, the battle is still the Lord's.
Yes.
And the hashtag for more for Nana. And tweeting Sarkodie's status.
Yes.
And then, or retweeting Sarkodie's status. And then Sarkodie comes in and says, Nana men fabronya hu inya koko lo.
Don't take advantage of the situation.
When I say abang all parties, shout to yourself and JM. But if I feel like pointing out the negatives too, you know how we do. So maybe saying, okay, so you've done something good, so congratulations to you. But yes, at some point I may have to point out some negatives as well. Anyway, so this is what it is. But it also created some controversy because the Kwame Eugene, who was featured on the track,
mentioned that he wasn't aware that the song is a political or endorsing a political party. Obviously, Sarkodie is saying that it's not. So where is that coming from? Hopefully we'll get Kwame Eugene to talk to tomorrow.
All right.
But Samini has been trending the whole of today. Guess why? Because of an interview we had with him back in 2016.
Okay.
So back in 2016, Samini doesn't support the idea of celebrities endorsing political parties. He has his own reasons. And people are reminding Samini of that. So, Easy, we have that interview.
All right. So, well...
Samini.
Yeah, we've heard Samini, but this was 2016, right?
Yeah, this was back in 2016.
Times have changed.
Yeah, so the people saying that, why you said that you don't encourage celebrities endorsing political parties. People change, and he's changed his mind. There's a saying that is only...
But I've actually been checking his... tweet account to see if he's posted something, but he hasn't reacted.
He's currently in WA. I'm sure he's busy doing his kinship duties, and there might be internet issues. I'm just saying. I'm not too sure, but I'm just saying.
I'm not sure about any internet issues. Maybe he wants to respond later.
But Walasi, on the other hand, we spoke to Walasi, and he says that he's not even voting come December 7th.
Okay.
He'll be very busy.
And then I'm also hoping that we're going to hear something from... Kwame Eugene has actually been speaking, but you tell me that he's coming on Hits FM.
Yeah, he'll be on... Well, I'm sure by now he should. So hopefully we'll have something from that, some sort of reaction, so that we communicate that to you tomorrow, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Becky Bex, for bringing us showbiz. In international news, Americans are voting in one of the most divisive presidential polls in decades, pitting incumbent Republican Donald Trump against Democrat Joe Biden. All right, the campaign trail is heating up, and with just 34 days to election 2020, John Mahama is renewing calls for a one-on-one debate with President Akufo-Addo over their governance records. The Akufo-Addo campaign has rejected earlier requests from the former president regarding a similar engagement, saying it is unnecessary. But addressing the people of the Medina constituency, John Mahama said the debate will help interrogate what government has used their over 141 billion cedis of loans contracted.
Yabobosia 141 billion every year. Nebusane said, Madina Kwai, Debbie.
State money must be used judiciously. The Akufo-Addo administration has borrowed 140 billion Ghana cedis. I want to find out whether it has reflected in your road network. No. Medina Market, no. Medina drains, no. Your vicinity is still flooded anytime it rains.
If you're Naya, 56 billion Ghana cedis.
Yes, let's compare the records of my stewardship and that of Nana Akufo-Addo. I borrowed 56 billion. But his government has borrowed 140 billion cedis. That is why I challenge him to a debate to give an account of what he has used the money for.
56 billion.
Also, the running mate of the National Democratic Congress, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, says the next NDC government will prioritize technical and vocational education. She added that the NDC will move the country away from a country of raw materials to one that adds value to those products. Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman was speaking at the 5th day celebration of the Dumba Festival at one in the Upper West region. Joynews Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from one.
This is the maiden visit of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman to the Upper West region ever since her nomination as the running mate to the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama. She has no butterflies in her stomach because she was traversing in a familiar territory.
I'm happy to be back home because one of my research used to take me here about twice a year from through Sankana, through Bolu, and to Tumo and back. And therefore, it is a homecoming of sorts. I know from my little history that the people of Wa are fearless, they are courageous, they are determined.
Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman opined that the peace that the country is enjoying is as a result of tolerance, respect for divergent views, and consensus building. She considered that though it takes time, effort, and determination, they are worth the time spending in achieving them. She said part of the process of creating and sustaining peace is anchored on removing obstacles that impeded the flow of life, thus explaining the reason why the previous NDC administration embarked on a massive infrastructure development in the Upper West region.
And that is why in our previous administration, we tried to do just that by paying attention to the regional hospital, creation of this region, completion of 2 out of the 8 senior secondary school buildings, the E blocks, completion of the regional library, over 300 school projects, rehabilitation and expansion of the Wa Airport, and of course the Jambusi Water Project. These are the building blocks of peace. It is when you have development and you answer the individual needs of people that you have peace.
She then laid bare to the people what to expect from the next NDC government should they win the 2020 polls.
We are anchoring our program again on tolerance, on respect of divergent views, on inclusion and on paying particular attention to the needs of people. And that is why we are emphasizing the primary health care, we are emphasizing the National Apprenticeship Program, we are emphasizing the big push to close our infrastructure deficit, and we are also emphasizing the human person as the center of development. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore important that we are also paying attention to TVET so that we can move ourselves slowly but surely out of our economy based on primary commodities to one that adds value to what it is that we always export in its raw form.
Overlord of the Walla traditional area, now for saying the city people the fourth, in a speech read on his behalf, commended the NDC administration for the numerous projects executed during their reign. Reporting for Joynews, Rafik Salam.
One of two members of the New Patriotic Party challenging incumbent Patricia PJ to the Asukwetis had dropped out of the race. Prince Apia has more.
Divine Oseminta says his decision to contest as an independent candidate in the Asukwa constituency was to rejuvenate collapsed businesses and ensure constituents get a quota in employment opportunities. Among his development drives is the construction of inner roads. Divine has, however, denounced his decision to contest as independent candidate. He is supporting the incumbent Member of Parliament, Patricia PJ. Divine says the NPP has pledged to actualize his vision in the next administration of Nana Akufo-Addo and Patricia PJ.
Council of Elders,
leaders called and spoke with me, including the former IGP. I also met with the Council of Elders. For the good of Asokwa, we spoke with the elders and they received our message. Let us unite for the growth of our constituency and the party so that Tumpahima and Nanado can retain their seats. Our message has been received by the people and we have agreed to support Mama Pat so that the growth we seek for Asokwa will come true. I call on all our followers in Asokwa to support Nana Akufo-Addo and Mama Pat, and if that is done, the development of Asokwa will be realized and we shall move forward.
Chairman of the NPP Regional Council of Elders, Reverend Edujemfi, is worried with the impact of the independent candidate syndrome on the NPP.
Na se kase no yi won de o ma di na kire nyina so o ma ba sesa o nyina se yi o mo di e je se egusi e no mo kasa so o nyina amra na emfa support e memma na Akufo-Addo ne Sumpahima na bibia e koso Asokwa bia no nyame emma nsa so na bibia nkoyi.
Patricia PJ now faces strong contest with former constituency organizer of the NPP, Eric Osei, who is also contesting as an independent candidate.
The country prepares for what will be a crucial election. Leaders of the NPP and NDC are being urged to commit to peace and with their supporters in line. The National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons is therefore urging politicians to resolve their differences through dialogue and not armed conflicts. The Commission is embarking on the Ballots Without Bullets campaign to sensitize the nation against the use of weapons. The campaign started in the Udududiodo constituency here in Accra. There's more in the following report by Kweku Asante.
As political tensions in some areas of the country rises ahead of this year's crucial election, many stakeholders have raised concerns about the possibility of violent clashes between supporters of the NPP and NDC. Indeed, a little over a week ago, supporters of the NPP and NDC in the Odododiodo constituency in Accra clashed violently, leading to injuries and destruction of properties. The National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons is embarking on a campaign and engaging the various political party leaders in selected hotspots identified by the police and urging them to commit to peace. The Ballot Without Bullets campaign by the Commission is a call on political parties to use dialogue and not violence to resolve their differences. Here is Jones Bote Aple, Executive Secretary of the Commission, explaining to Joynews the reasoning behind the campaign.
We want to counter ballots without bullets. We don't want people to die as a result of elections. We want people to live and live peacefully after the elections. And so this program is attitudinal and behavioral change. we want to change people's perception about elections. That when we go for election, it's about electing leadership. It's not about fighting. It's about who presents his ideas and the one that you prefer. So it's just a message that everybody is calling. And so we have come to Dodo because of what happened recently here. The point is that if you don't get to the constituencies to have an engagement or conversation with the candidates, as we all know, there's no war in this world that ended through the bullets.
Member of Parliament for the Ododo constituency, where the campaign started, is warning that the party will hand out all elements within who ferment trouble ahead of the election.
I stand here today on behalf of the National Democratic Congress, the constituency executive, the entire membership of our party in the Ododo constituency, to commit myself to peace before, during, and after the December 7th presidential and parliamentary elections. I do this in the solemn belief that in this constituency, we are a family. And as such, I cannot see myself vandalizing, brutalizing, attacking any member of my family. We stand here committing ourselves to the fact that any member of our party who will be involved in any violence, any attack, anything that will disturb the peace, we condemn it and we will not hesitate to hand that person over to the appropriate authorities.
Meanwhile, Neil Antibanaman is an NPP parliamentary candidate in the Ododo constituency and has also been committing himself to peace.
10 persons have sustained injuries in a road accident at Kwamo near Ejisu in the Ashanti region. The accident occurred Monday night involving a VIP bus and a trailer. The bus was traveling from Goso to Accra. Erastus Sardonko has more.
Fire officers arrived at the scene to help rescue victims. Eyewitness accounts indicate the bus crashed into a stationary trailer in the middle of the road.
We do not know what exactly happened. A bang was suddenly heard as we sat in the car. Several people are injured. Their limbs have been cut off. Even my sister here has a deep cut to her face.
No fatality was recorded in the accident. The injured passengers are receiving treatment at the Ejisu Government Hospital. The bus driver, who is in critical condition, has been transferred to the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital.
At the start of the new week, Alaba,
the Central Region Police Commander started visiting families of police officers who died in the line of duty in the region from 2016 to 2019. Of particular mention was a policeman who was recently knocked down by a truck while on duty at the Palm Police Checkpoint. Regional Police Commander DCOP Habiba Chumesi says the police administration stands solidly behind their fallen officers and will do everything to support their families. Richard Kojonyako has more in the following report.
Senior police officers as well as their junior colleagues gathered at the forecourt of the regional police headquarters to ponder over the activities throughout the year that includes the happenings to their police officers who fell in the line of duty from 2016 to date. Regional Police Commander DCOP Habiba Chumesi says the police administration stands with the family of their fallen officers and will do everything to honor them.
We sign up in our various training institutions to serve the people of Ghana, to protect life and properties of Ghanaians. In doing so, at times it happens that we need to pay that ultimate price with our lives. As a region, we've been tasked to specifically visit families of four of such, who fell between 2016 and 2019. So we will be doing that in the course of the week. We are already in touch with the families and we'll be visiting them and have a gift from the Inspector General of Police and the police administration for the families to know that even though their heroes are not with us, we still and will continue to remember them every year, so that the family will know that they join an organization that appreciates, that honors its fallen heroes.
DCOP Habiba Chumesi asked the parade to honor the sergeant who was knocked down by a truck while on duty at the police checkpoint at Apam.
I would like to pause here specifically as a region to give, even though the general minutes of silence will come, to give a special one to our sergeant, our dear sergeant, Salifu Hafsula, who fell on the 24th of October on the road at Apam, trying to protect the life and properties of Ghanaians, and especially the wonderful region, Central Region. He was knocked down by a truck and he died. So let's pause here and give 1 minute of silence for that hero, and we will do the general one for the rest of them.
The parade also laid wreath to honor their departed colleagues. Richard Kwejenya, Joynews, Cape Coast.
Business at Alaba in Kumasi resumed after armed robbers attacked and robbed some traders in daylight last Friday. Many traders say they are living in fear, even though some have improved their personal security. One person was killed and 3 others sustained various degrees of injury from gunshots as the robbers bolted with unspecified amounts of money. Law Firm's Nane Aljima has the rest of the story.
Vibrant business center is in its usual bars of trading. Motorbike and bicycle dealers, money changers and wholesalers of tea herbs have all taken their position. Last Friday's incident is still fresh on the minds of many who witnessed it. They live in fear despite turning up for business today.
It is very terrible, horrible, beyond explanation, my boss. We never saw that more with the security. Since that very day the incident happened, we never see even a patrol team to come around and even stop talking to us as you came as a media like this. None of them came here.
I harbor some fear, but as a man, it shouldn't overcome me. This is my first time witnessing a shooting. I touched a pellet for the first time. Security wise, next time, some of us are prepared to meet them next time. We have to find our own means to fight back, but we can't reveal what we have done.
Well,
So on Friday, during the period of the usual Juma prayers, 7 young men on 3 motorbikes came from this side, that's my right, and they started robbing people on the streets of their belongings. So they started with this shop, which runs a mobile money service, and there they picked an unspecified amount of money. Then they went to the shop that followed, where they couldn't get much, so they shot 1 man there, and also after killing 1 man they injured others, and from there they moved to a money transfer shop. So that is the money transfer shop across the street, and also we are learning that in that shop they robbed them of a huge amount of money. Masaudu Audu, a victim of last Friday's incident, is surrounded by colleagues who have come to seek details of the robbery. With a wound on his left arm sustained from the gunshots, he attempts to arrange herbs he sells on a table. He saw his friend shot dead, a scene still fresh on his mind. They were shooting spontaneously, so they missed easily. They had to shoot my friend at close range. They shot several times. This young man, who would not identify himself, was missed by shots 4 times. He recounts how his brother and other clients managed to escape death.
And this say you want money, and say yeah money, and catch say relax, I will give you money. And Tina sky your mouth will receive me. And Tina I know you need now mom, I know be some what do you need again? And say more phone. Mobile phone. I know you mom, I know service what do you need again? Because no or no they when him say they came with only one motive. Either to kill and I say just to kill.
Many people here trading in forex do so illegally. They are therefore uncomfortable with suggestions to improve police visibility here. Some have already adopted new security measures but will keep it to their chest. From Kumasi for Joynews, Nana Ojima reporting.
The Director of Finance at the Kofonochi Teaching Hospital has filed a motion in court to injunct the decision by the hospital's board to replace him whilst in office. The hospital declared its office vacant with an advertisement in the October 6th edition of the Daily Graphic newspaper. In a letter intercepted by Love News dated October 22, 2021, and signed by board chairman Ambassador Efa Apenting, the hospital asked Mr. Elvis Kusi to proceed on leave. Lawyers of the Director of Finance, however, believe the circumstances are not lawful and have filed an injunction pending judgment on the 5th of this month. Law firm's Erastus Asarodonko was in court today and has filed this report.
The October 6, 2020 edition of the Daily Graphic newspaper carries an advertisement of vacancy for the post of Director of Finance, calling for application from qualified personnel. But sources close to the director indicate it came at a time when he had not received any communication from management. Love News intercepted this letter sent to Mr. Elvis Kusi asking him to proceed on leave effective 2nd November 2020. The letter asked him to hand over to Mr. John Ousu, Deputy Director for Finance, Reporting and Expenditure Control. This comes 25 days after his job was advertised in the Daily Graphic. Lawyers of Mr. Kusi filed a motion for injunction at the Human Rights Division of the High Court in Kumasi. They are restraining the board of CAF from going ahead with any process to replace him. Lawyer Akuya Sewa is one of the lawyers.
We are seeking to injunct them from interviewing and replacing people to take his position. You see, when you file a motion, it doesn't mean it has been heard. So today it has been heard. A notice is given to them. So they don't need to take any further steps now that the procedure is properly before the court. So if after today they take any other steps, then they will be in contempt or they will be scandalizing the powers of the court.
Management of the Kofonochi Teaching Hospital explains the advertisement is in line with the implementation of the board's decision to review the terms of engagement for directors. Lawyer Kwame Adofo is counsel for the Kofonochi Teaching Hospital.
In the previous meeting, which he himself, the Director of Finance, was present as a board member, the board indicated in the minutes that at the end of the 4-year term, which is in June 2020, Kofonochi was supposed to open up the positions for others to also apply. So Kofonochi then notified him that because of what they have seen in the minutes, they are now going to advertise position for other interested people to also apply, including himself. He accepted it. And on 12th of August, he formally wrote an application for reappointment as Director of Finance of Kofonochi, until he saw an advertising in the newspaper asking other people who are interested to also apply. Then he quickly ran to court and said, hey, by the way, I'm still the Director of Finance. That, to me, is inconsistent, because you cannot say you are still the Director of Finance when you have applied to be reappointed.
Reporting for Joynews, Erastus Asarodonko, Kumasi.
He is rich and has the resources to fund a fun trip to see other parts of the world, but never did because he thought it was a waste of time and resources. But his views about traveling changed after he was convinced by his wife to take part in the Nancy Travels icebreaker tour of Dubai. That is the story of businessman Alfred Patterson. Now, unlike him, Gimpo graduate Sedem Al-Hilija enjoys to travel and will even spend his scarce resources to fund a fun trip to see new places. Maxwell Agbagba was with the two of them in Dubai, and has more in this report.
Yeah, some might say it's an expensive hobby. Okay. Yes.
Meet the Gimpa Hospitality and Tourism graduate, Ahlija Sedem Sandra Ajone. It is a third trip to Dubai. She says traveling provides her with the much needed relaxation, which she is not ready to exchange for anything.
I'm affording, what I can afford. Okay. So yes, I am getting what is good for my mental health. Most importantly, yes. Okay. Mental health. Okay. So, okay, I like flying, but I don't really like flying for long hours. Okay. That's it. And I mean, either ways, whether by car or by air, the risk is pretty much almost the same. For me, it gives me new experience. Even though I've been here several times, and this is my third time, it's like a new experience all over again, right? It relaxes me, actually. It relaxes me a lot, because it's something that helps me to relax. It's my coping mechanism. Everybody has theirs, but this is mine. And I think for a couple of people too, they would agree to that. So yeah, for me, it does help relax me.
Sedem does not want to describe herself as rich. She says she's comfortable with life. Meet businessman Alfred Patterson. Although rich and accomplished, he had never traveled outside Ghana for relaxation or business. His wife had to convince him to embark on his first trip to Dubai. Alfred says, although he had the resources, he thought traveling was a waste of time.
I've not traveled before. This is my first time. Okay. Work. I work from 9 in the morning, late at 12 before I go home. So I don't have the time. I've lived in Ghana for all my life, seeing the buildings, the surroundings, the hotels, the cars, everything here looks different from Ghana. It was my wife's idea. Okay. I normally say, traveling to go and do what? Go and spend money and get nothing out of it. And I'm like, my wife said, no, you have to go. You've worked all your life and you've never gotten any rest, not even for a day. My wife said, okay, no, go. I'll take care of the house, I'll take care of the business, you go. So I decided, okay, no, let me go. I'm here. Wow. I would love to travel every year. Wow. Possibly if I will have it in every 6 months. In different countries, I would do it. Wow. Yes, I would do it. Because it has changed my understanding of living.
Many are excited about the lifting of restriction on travels in parts of the world. Managing Director of Adansi Travels, organizers of the Adansi Icebreaker Tour, Gideon Asari says COVID-19 brought great distress to the travel and tour industry.
Some of the agents are having 1 staff, 2 staff, they're able to manage easily. Yeah. But for agents as big as Adansi Travels having like 19 staff and paying close to $1,000 a month on our rent and getting 0 income. So you can imagine 7 months or so, 0 income, paying 19 staff, paying their taxes, paying all that. It has been very, very difficult. But we thank God that our staff have been very supportive, taking less pay, and also, for us, we also apply for the government intervention, even though we are yet to hear from them.
All right, so you can choose to be Sedem, who loves to travel, to relax, or Alfred, who tried it for the first time and loved it by taking part in our Joy FM Goes local fun trip to the Western region, dubbed the Western Escape with Adansi Travels. It is happening from November 6th. We'll spend 3 days and 2 nights at the Maha Beach Resort. Make sure to be part of the breakfast on the beach, live band session in Zulezu bonfire night, and more. It's your decision. So I would encourage you to take a trip like that. We're taking a break to bring you more business to station.
And we're back with some more business stories. Economist Richmond Frimpong is warning that Ghana's economy will suffer if stimulus packages are not paid back. Now, this, he says, is due to most of the funds being offered being borrowed from external sources. There is more in this report.
More than 400,000 businesses have applied for support under Nkoswo, a new COVID-19 recovery and resilience program introduced to cushion micro, small and medium enterprises from the impact of the pandemic. They are requesting in excess of 2 billion cedis, although the program being run by the National Board for Small-Scale Industries has an initial commitment of 90 million cedis from its partner, the MasterCard Foundation.
It depends on a number of things. So whatever package the government gave, it's called a stimulus package. And usually stimulus packages are meant to stimulate the economy. And so my expectation is that we know exactly given out as loans are going to stimulate to see off as output on the economy in terms of our GDP. If those figures come up in real time and they do so much that our GDP can now hold the debts that went out, the government may choose to say, maybe you can pay them at a lesser rate. But to say it's for free would be strange because those funds were not funds that were internally generated from our revenues. They were funds that we went borrowing for. And so for nothing at all, we have to pay those funds back the same way we gave them out. We can equally just rush out or clean out the rates of return or the interest rates. But to say they are for free entirely, that would be strange. And it's going to have a very difficult effect or nasty effect on our GDP and most importantly our debt to GDP. So it would be surprising if they are given out for free. I don't expect that it happens. It is possible to make it coupon zero or interest or rate free. But to say take all together over the period, I'm wondering where we are going to get the funds to pay back. That is why I'm saying that the output then of those funds in the businesses that receive them should have returned and shown back in terms of taxes, in terms of a number of things that the government has received because of the stimulus it gave. In that instance, maybe government can say, let me give them out. But looking at how it is going to take a very long time to get the economy corrected, it will be really strange to say they are for free. Let me say also that that conversation of free should not even happen now. Because the moment you begin a conversation like that on funds that are payable, then you have a problem because ordinarily our financial service sector is such that people are not very good at paying funds back. And so government is going to struggle, particularly when it's funds coming from government. So that conversation shouldn't come even if the intentions are going to happen in the near future.
Launched on September 16th this year, the Nkoswo program will provide financial assistance in the form of grants and soft loans.
Well, independent power producers say that they might be compelled to shut down production over unpaid debts by government. The move has been influenced by challenges in making progress with the clearance of some $1.3 billion debt. Chief Executive of the Chamber of Independent Power Producers, Eliklim Apektogbos, tells Joy Business his outfits can no longer guarantee supply of power going forward.
We do not have a real solution coming from the government. We have petitioned, used all diplomatic means to get our debts paid, but unfortunately it's not forthcoming. So I don't really know how we can guarantee supply of power in the coming days.
How bad is the situation that if this monies are not provided now, you might be forced to take certain drastic measures?
You know, the fact is that we cannot guarantee supply of power if the monies are not paid or if the debt is not settled. That is the real fact.
In the next days or weeks?
In the next few, just so you can talk from today, we can't guarantee. We do not want to give any timeline to this because I want to say it's the most strategic thing for government to consider in these present times because it's a very high risk to the whole nation. We cannot guarantee if the monies are not paid.
Having to use all diplomatic and all available means to let government appreciate how serious the situation is, or they are still trying to audit your numbers?
I can show you a series of letters that we have written, meetings that we have attended that have not yielded any results. It appears we are just, let me say, just being toyed with. Yeah, they do not see the real risk. We've just been sacrificing from the COVID area. All the generations we have secured funds to be able to keep the lights on during all these times.
Now, away from that, the Ghana Agriculture Workers Union, GAU, is questioning the number of jobs created and the government flagship Planting for Food and Jobs program. According to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, more than 2 million jobs have been created since the program started in 2017. Though GAU will not put out the alternative figures, its General Secretary, Edward Karewe, wants a review of how these jobs are determined. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
The introduction of Planting for Food and Jobs program was to promote food security, ensure ready markets for produce and provide jobs. Earlier this year, the government claimed more than 2 million jobs have been created under the program. General Secretary of GAU, Edward Karewe, is however questioning the employment figures.
The Planting for Food and Jobs claims to have brought up is creation of jobs. We have been questioning all that, how they determine the jobs and the sustainability of those jobs. Over 2 million to 3 million jobs have been created per the statistics from the Ministry of Agriculture. But we ask ourselves, where are the jobs? Well, we believe that jobs are tangibles and jobs are verifiable. When Ghanaians say they want job, what do they understand? What is their understanding of the ordinary Ghanaian on the street about job? He's not talking about having a job just for one day. He's not talking about having a job just for 1 week. He's talking about having something that he can depend on for his daily livelihood and for his dependents. Does the Planting for Food and Jobs, the jobs that they've created, can they tell us what proportion of it indeed meets this type of criteria of the ordinary Ghanaian?
He also says the program has failed to address post-harvest losses and access to market. Edward Karewe spoke on the sidelines of GAU's 60th anniversary celebration and its 11th quadrennial delegate conference in Kumasi. The theme for the conference was 60 years of promoting decent work in agriculture, the role of GAU. Mr. Karewe observed unbridled importation of food items continued to undermine the efforts of farmers.
The program has not been able to actually address the post-harvest losses and also create market for the farmers. Last year, 2019, where rice farmers were left with their produce at the vagaries of the weather in the rains when they had produced and harvested, and there was no market. You go to the northern part of the country, you go to BA where tomatoes is produced in large quantities, it's left to rot. So the Planting for Food and Jobs has not yet been able to address them.
GAU, with a membership of about 55,000, is pushing for an environment that will enable farmers to grow sustainably. Prince Appiah reporting.
And that's it by way of business. I'm Charles Aite. Sports is up next.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the second segment of the Sports Live here on the Joynews Prime. And we start off with some local stories where the National Sports Authority has fumigated the Crossbow Stadium ahead of the new season. The exercise is part of efforts to make sure the venues are safe for usage when football returns.
As part of efforts to ensure match venues are safe when Ghana Premier League commences, the National Sports Authority began fumigation of the Accra Sports Stadium that will be used by 5 different clubs. The National Sports Authority, in conjunction with the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the Ghana Football Association, had announced fumigation was part of the protocols to ensure football teams use the venues safely. The government of Ghana had suspended footballing activities due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, following the decision of the president of the country, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to ease restrictions on contact sport and announcing the return of football. The Ministry of Youth and Sports took steps to fumigate all 18 match venues that will be used by teams in the Ghana Premier League. The Accra Sports Stadium will be used by Accra House of Oak, Great Olympics, Inter Allies, Legon Cities, and Kumasi Asante Kotoko, as well as other Division 1 clubs. The authority has engaged 2 different companies to undertake the exercise. All match venues approved by the Club Licensing Board will undergo the fumigation exercise to make the venues safe for usage. The Premier League will commence on the weekend of November 14. According to the Ghana Football Association, the first match will be between Aduana Stars and Accra House of Oak at the Doma Ahinkro Stadium. House of Oak last season secured 1 point when they visited the grounds.
Let's do some hockey now, where the Ghana Hockey Federation is planning on building new facilities across the country to aid Ghana win gold in the All-Africa Games which take place in 2023 after failing to qualify for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics.
Ghana's male and female hockey teams failed to qualify for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics after finishing third and second respectively at the African qualifiers last year August in South Africa. After the disappointment of not making it to next year's Olympic Games, the head of communication for the Ghana Hockey Federation, Reverend Lomomenu, says the federation is planning to build new pitches and other facilities to sharpen the talent and skills of players.
It was meant to set up for everything, but more especially for the youth, because we need to build our capacity as a country. Our national teams haven't been faring too well, even though we were once African champions, and then we also placed in second or third in the World Series. South Africa and Egypt, they have overtaken us, both boys, girls, men and women. So this was to unearth talents across the country and then to sharpen our skills.
He also added that the federation is targeting gold for Ghana in the 2023 African Hockey Games.
Well, we have to collect all the gold medals. No joke. Okay. Because if we have 3 new pitches, and we have our coaches well trained, and we are having competitions. You know, competitions are very, very important. I mean, for example, just 5 years ago, we revived the senior high school national hockey competition, and the progress has been amazing. We find students or schools who are playing, I mean, when we started 5 years ago, their level wasn't that good. But last year when we had the last one, I mean, amazing. And if we continue like that, I mean, the interest is going to definitely develop. A lot more young ones who are more talented would want to play hockey. And I believe that once we have opportunities like All Africa Games, World Games for them to travel and so on and so forth, they would be aspiring, you know, to play and play well.
The Ghana hockey team is said to be back in action in February.
Well, that was an a report put together by Joy Sports' Elom Benaya. But before we do go, some updates on the Champions League games for match day 2. And currently, we've had 22 goals in the 8 matches, with 6 of them actually not done. One of them is Real Madrid beaten Inter Milan by 2-1, and we do have we do have commentary of that game live on Joy 99.7 FM, but you can also follow us on My Joy Online and at Joy Sports GH for updates of that game between Real Madrid and Inter Milan. Liverpool also lead Atalanta by 2-0. Man City beaten Olympiacos by 1-0, and then Bayern Munich beaten Salzburg by 1-0. Ajax also beaten Midtjylland by 2-1, but certainly a lot of things could change in the remainder of the half. Remember, second half still to be played. Live commentary on Joy 99.7 FM. But that's the note on which we're wrapping up the sport here. My name is Oreku Wampofu.
All right, it's time for Joynews Interactive, and let's go on to social media now. So on Facebook, the flag bearer of the NDC, Jomama, says he prefers not to get celebrities involved in his campaign ahead of the 2020 general elections. You know, this matter came up during Showbiz, where we have Samini has gone ahead to endorse President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So let's check out some of the comments that we have. Samuel Boachi says they failed in your elections, and you last chopped huge of your money, but for MPP, they did help us. Okay, not quite getting it. But Shatawale, career didn't die when he endorsed you and performed for you in 2016. Only the slay queens and prostitutes have lost their relevance after they endorsed you. Now, Devon Bafor says, is it because you can't shower them with expensive vehicles and mansions at the expense of poor Ghanaians? Be truthful for once. Okay, let's move on. Asasi J says, you think we don't know? You're secretly funding your slay queens. Then Alfred says, that was why Efia made a U-turn and said we should vote for Nana for free SHS. Asari Dani says, he's been honest with celebrities. What's the bleeding about? All right, and also on the U.S. election, as I indicated earlier, we're going to have a special coverage for the U.S. election, which is coming on at 12 midnight. We're going to be on from 12 midnight until 2:30 a.m. So do make a date, join us. We're going to have some people who voted, who are living in the U.S. They're going to be joining us and sharing their thoughts on how the day has gone. So do make a date. I'm Israel. Thank you very much for watching, but I'll be back with you at 12 midnight for the special coverage of the U.S. election. Stay tuned.